First off, we'd like to thank Ms. Lori Kissinger for giving us her time and allowing us to participate and be part of the VSA Tennessee program through our ideas and facing current challenges. Through our interview with Lori, we learned a lot about her situation and the advantages and disadvantages that VSA faces. Some of those advantages being, of course, her great and effective partnerships that have kept them successful for so long, her valuable resources and volunteers that she's gathered through her teaching, also her renowned status and recognized rewards in other funders' eyes, and that's how she's been able to get a lot of private funding. Also, some of her disadvantages, or the disadvantages that VSA has, is their public renowned status. They don't seem very well known in the public's eyes, mostly just through the private sector. Also, the inability to grow VSA due to the JFK Center restrictions. VSA Tennessee faces a lot of challenges. One of those being the Teapot Diplomats program that's being initiated in the hopes of eventually making Tennessee the global leader in disability assistance. She originally wanted us to focus on this program. However, through our interview, we noticed one big challenge that Lori must face in order to reach that goal. And to us, that is the perpetuity and continuing growth of what currently exists in an effort to continue Gene Kennedy Smith's legacy and the mission of VSA.
In order to achieve sustainability in the organization, we have generated a few ideas that we will be discussing. Starting with the advantages and disadvantages of changing the name, moving on to creating a training and development system as well, and funding these efforts.
I'm here to present the training and development portion of our presentation. And we feel this part is necessary because in order to make the VSA Tennessee organization one that will last beyond current leadership, we do need people in place that will be ready to step in and be somewhat familiar with the processes and the organization and the procedures, and so there won't be such a large lag time between leadership. And the way we wanted to do this was kind of like a 3-phase operation. Phase 1 is actually independent of the first 2. And what we really stress there is documenting the standard operating procedures you have, tax forms, the responsibilities of the executive director, all those things that may be inside your head, but we need out into the world so that we all have access to it. When I say all, I mean anyone incoming, the board, things like that. And so when we spoke with Ms. Kissinger, she indicated that most of the work that she has done, she has no shortage of getting interns or volunteers for things. So that's how we would think that that documentation process would be done, between interviewing, documenting, gathering, all those things. We would want all of that done in the intern and volunteer manpower. And we estimate that that would take about 9 to 12 months. And like I said, that can be done independently of the next things. The phase 2 and phase 3 would encompass going to the board and asking if we could maybe create new positions. We were thinking of an assistant director position and or an office manager position that would work directly with Lori, and just really learn the business and we could have people in place to do that. Obviously, because the board is in charge of hiring and firing, that would be their decision, but our suggested qualifications would be someone who has worked in nonprofit leadership prior, so that there wouldn't be such a culture shock between for-profit, nonprofit, and there's just kind of a general understanding of how the whole nonprofit sector works. And of course, that timeline would be determined by Lori and the board and any applicants, how we would do that transition. And then the phase 3 would be sort of like a tandem training. The specifics of the development and training would be need to be created by the current executive director. but we do think that documentation process that is happening concurrently would help with that. But the overall training part would be for the executive director to work with incoming staff to cultivate the existing relationships with the donors. I mean, we know that Lori has just like deep relationships with the people that donate, and we want to be able to spread that so that those relationships aren't cut off if and when Lori is no longer part of the nonprofit. And we also expect these new people to cultivate new relationships with new donors to always keep something coming in with the funding. And we also expect that the new staff would want to create relationships with the existing clients that are a part of VSA Tennessee. Since such a majority of the people have been with the program for so long, we want to make sure that they understand that, new leadership, or not even necessarily new leadership, but new people, new faces, doesn't mean that they won't get the same results. And so for that process, we expect that would take around 3 to 6 months, depending on the candidates. So with all of those in place, we feel that is a solid framework to begin getting VSA in a position where we can grow and the knowledge grows beyond the current leadership, so that we can take advantage of what we need to take care of as far as helping people with disabilities through arts, reaching those people, being in a place where we can grow and grow up and out. So that's what we have for training and development.
Some of the ideas that we have that require funding are the training and development, as well as leading to paying the executive director. The importance of paying the executive director is financing their home life so that they can focus on the organization. For training and development, under the expectation of minimal wages, we estimate a yearly cost of $9,000 to $12,000 a year at about 20 to 25 hours a week. We noticed a trend of increased funding of $10,000 a year the past 2 years, so it's reasonable to believe that these costs are achievable. The expectation of having an additional staff members, they should be able to achieve funding exceeding their own pay through their new connections after training. Paying the executive director could take more time, but with the help of the new staff should be achievable. In the meantime, you could think about using existing savings to pay the executive director.
To wrap things up, we'd like to recommend, make sure that we go over our recommendations for you. So first off, we recommended that we go ahead and change the name of VSA. This will allow for growth in the organization, as well as decrease the limits that you have due to the JFK restrictions on the expansion of VSA as a whole. We do understand that changing the name, you might lose what Jean Kennedy Smith initially started. However, changing the name doesn't lose everything that she is. Her legacy goes with the mission of VSA and goes with what VSA stands for. And what they stand for is not within their name. What they stand for is within their mission and what they're able to accomplish. So we think changing this name, if it's for the better and it's going to increase the amount of people that you can help and how well known the organization is, then it could be for the better. We also recommend that developing staffing and training is going to lead to greater future funding, give you a executive director replacement if anything were to ever happen, and to make sure that the business is continuing, so that way somebody's always there to run it. Also, increasing the funding or taking a small amount from other programs is going to be that investment into the staff and training, which they should be able to develop, funding on their own and through your connections and through the connections of VSA, that will be worth it in the future, as well as you're going to get connections that they might have or that they might develop through their life, and just overall, it's really necessary to have that sustainability. Also, we don't have any expected time frame as to when this needs to be accomplished. It's really all relative to you, Lori, and your ability to continually run VSA. We think that it's great that you've put so much effort into this business and that you're so emotionally connected to it. And we do hope that the emotional connection doesn't overrun the ability to make the decisions that are necessary for VSA to stay perpetual and keep it going forever, because that's what we think is important. To continue Gene Kennedy Smith's legacy, we need the business to run forever. We again want to thank you, Lori, for your time, and we hope that our recommendations will be up for discussion and for consideration. Thank you so much.